This is Steve Harris from Iron Maiden and British Lion. You're listening to Andrew McCasebit from Scars and Guitars.
I still have to pinch myself that I got that interview, but in some ways, I'm not saying it's better, but the equal of the interview was the fact that Steve was prepared to give me a signature for the show. So you're going to be hearing his dulcet tones from now on. Introducing so many wonderful guests. Eric's done such a great job today, but I think it's fair to say, let's give Steve a turn. Steve Harris, ladies and gentlemen. Holy shit, unbelievable. So the guest on this episode is Dale Stewart, the bass player from the group Seether. Now, the catalyst for our introduction is due to a new album from the group. It's their 9th, and it is titled The Surface Seems So Far. So, of course, throughout the chat, we talk about the album, a bit of touring, but it's far more notable because Dale is originally from South Africa. Indeed, all of his family lives there. So we talk about what that means to him. All right, so here it is, a chat with a good bloke, by the way, Dale Stewart. Hey, mate, how you going?
Hey, good, thanks. Sorry I'm late. My last two kind of ran a bit late, so I'm a bit late getting to you.
That's all right. The calls are going well. The Zoomers are going well then from the sounds of things.
Yeah. Maybe I ramble a little bit too much.
What have been the apart from the new album, of course, I get that. That's the catalyst. But what have been the other main topics of conversation so far?
We spoke a little bit about COVID. New album. Touring. You know, the usual stuff, fishing a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fair enough. Yeah.
You know, I brought up the fishing, but drinking, I probably brought that up too.
Or why don't we just kick it off then? Let's just obviously you guys know what you're doing by now. It's when you get to this point where you're near to a dozen albums into a career, it's, you know, I mean, outside of the most generic opening statement, tell me about your new album. I usually say, what is different about this album compared to the other ones? Because it just sounds like another great Seether release to me.
Thanks, man. I mean, we've spent so much time in studio over the years, and you definitely get good at it. I mean, we knocked this thing out in like a couple of weeks. I mean, our first album, Disclaimer, took I feel like months. Like we were in there just, you know, hacking away at it, you know, trying to get it done. Now we'll make an album in like 3 weeks. You know, it's amazing. You know, now big part of that is Pro Tools. You know, it just makes it so. And I'm not talking about, you know, tuning things and completely sort of outsourcing the playing part, but just not having a splice tape and just, you know, play. If you do screw up, hey, just punch me in for the chorus and I'll replay it. You can do everything so quick now, and if you don't abuse Pro Tools, it's a great. You can abuse it and make something just sound robotic and fake and you know, in my opinion, not like real rock, but I feel like there's a way to do it right. But yeah, I think we're getting good at what we do. I don't know what sets this album apart. It's just kind of it's just what we do, man. We never set out to make a certain kind of album or an album that's going to fit within a certain genre or into like a pigeonhole. It's just however the album ends up, it ends up. You know, we just, you know, pick the best songs from the session and put those on the album, and it's kind of what you see is what you get. If it ends up being heavy, cool. You know, if it ends up being, you know, something completely different, so be it. You know, we don't try and put too many sort of guardrails on ourselves, but we're also pretty clear about our identity and who we are, and you know, I don't think we've ever really strayed too far from that Seether sound, and I think maybe that's kind of endearing to people, and you know, it's like when there's a new Seether album, you kind of know what you're going to get. Not exactly, but you know, it's not going to, you know, we're not going to be rapping or, you know, putting on like Celine Dion covers or something. Although, who knows?
Who knows? I
Maybe we do.
distinctly recall back in the day, it was bands who get selected to produce a song. I think a director asked you guys to do Spider-Man, didn't he? And from that perspective, those bands are usually here and then gone tomorrow, and that type of thing. There's litany of bands that fall into that category, and you never really know what happened. But for you guys, it's kind of not even a footnote anymore, is it? Does it even come up in conversations?
Yeah, we did the song we had was for Daredevil, which was that Ben Affleck.
Daredevil, was it? I thought it was Spider-Man, wasn't it? Or was it Daredevil?
Yeah, I don't think we may have had one of Spider-Man. I'll lose track, but the first big movie.
Oh, sorry, yeah, Daredevil. I'm thinking of gotcha, yeah.
The first big blockbuster, single or song in a movie we had was in Daredevil, and we went and watched the movie, and we're like, I wish the movie was better, and I really I wanted to like it so bad. But I mean, it's still cool to have a song in a big movie like that, with massive movie stars and stuff. Been a couple of kids out of South Africa. It's kind of crazy to find yourself in that position where you kind of involved with this big production, and I mean, super exciting. But yeah, I don't know if that helped us in any way. It might have. I think what helped us more, we had a song in a video game here, like an American football game called Madden. What was it? Madden 2003, I think it was. And one of our first singles, Fine Again, we put it on this football game. And man, we got a lot of mileage out of that. So many kids came to us at shows. Hey, I heard you guys on Madden, and I checked out your album, and it was cool. So we came to the show and bought a T-shirt, and it's like, wow, cool. Okay, that's the goal, So just shows the power of video games, man. I think it's well, I don't want to say it's the future because it's video games are so kind of old school now, but back then it was the future, and I think it's the first time I really realized the scope and the reach of video games.
Yeah, I hear. Look, the other aspect of the band is that, and I don't think, I mean, who would, unless you're someone like me who's a musician who follows the career of musicians, you're a supergroup of sorts. Okay, so I'm talking about Corey Lowry, Suck Mojo. So John Humphrey from the Nixons with their massive song Sister. I think Sister's, I haven't checked Spotify, but it'd be in the millions surely. Point is, bands cover that song all the time. So there's you guys, the mainstays of the band, and you're buttressed by these. And I know these guys have been in the band for years at this point, so it's hardly new news. But that's another aspect of the band. And I have spoken to Corey about it years ago. I have spoken to Corey about his involvement in the group and other things that were happening to him. But do you guys exchange stories, war stories on that front?
Oh yeah, we do. I mean, you have so much time on a tour bus or a dressing room to just kind of shoot the shit and hang out, and so yeah, tons of old stories. Mostly funny or ridiculous, or this one time this happened. But yeah, I mean, it's great to be surrounded by such good musicians. Johnny's an incredible drummer. Corey's an unbelievable guitar player. He's a great bass player. And the thing about Corey too, he's an excellent engineer as well. He produces bands, engineers as well. So when we're in studio, he'll get up there, he'll be involved. Whether it's getting, guitar tones, helping out with, whatever it may be. So he's such a valuable addition to our team. We're so happy to have him. But yeah, I mean, it's, we go way back. Johnny's obviously been with us for 4 years, but, we know Corey from back when he was in Dark New Day with his brother Clint. And we took them out on tour in, must have been 2005 or something. And that's really where we got to know those guys well and toured for a while. And man, that tour was just off the chain, just I mean, the amount of partying and drinking and just everyone was just on 11, and and we were just like this little raging ball of just madness. And we just went around the country, and it was one of the most fun times of my life for sure. And so we talk a lot about those days, with Corey and stuff. And it's so cool to have him in the band now, because even back then, he'd ride our bus. He's like, man, screw it, I'm riding with you guys tonight. We're like, cool, we'll clear your bunk, and we'd get drunk, and he'd ride with us, and it was almost like it was meant to be. Even from back in the day, like he was our guy. He was kind of part of the crew. That's the hardest part, integrating band members, is, can you live with this guy? A lot of good players out there, but can you live with this guy? Can you be on a bus together? Can you be in each other's space for 24 hours a day, months at a time on tour? And that's really what makes the difference.
I bet it does. Yeah, yeah. Do you guys, outside of continuing to release killer rock music, what other goals have you got for your music?
I never really have goals. I guess the goal would be to just, keep getting people, to care what we do, keep, selling out rock shows. I guess the goal is to just have people care, have people wanting to hear what we do, have people interested. I think if our popularity really started waning, and people just weren't turning out for the shows or buying albums. I guess people don't buy albums really. It was, people weren't coming to the shows and buying T-shirts or whatever. I guess we'd probably still do it, just because we love doing it, we love playing. But it would be a little bit harder. It's getting up when there's a room full of people, and they're just chomping at the bit for you to come out and play the songs they know from the radio. It's such a good feeling. It's such that's why COVID was so hard, because it wasn't just, oh, you lost your job. Not that we lost the job, but your livelihood's being taken away. It's like, well, okay, that's one aspect of it, but the other aspect is, when you're in a band, or when you do this for a living, it becomes such a big part of who you are, your identity. What makes you feel important. What gives you value, whether that's how you perceive it or how other people perceive it. But just getting up on stage, and that rush you get, with all the people, it's like a drug, and it's a great feeling. And to wake up one day and it's all gone, and you're like, oh shit, what now? It's kind of a weird thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how I got back on the COVID thing, but yeah, it's man, I mean, getting up and playing, it's great. I guess the goal is to just keep writing music, and as long as people want to hear it, we'll keep writing music and playing it and doing shows.
Do you and Sean still live in South Africa?
No, we live in America. Sean's in Nashville, and I'm in Savannah, Georgia.
How long have you been there for?
I've been in Savannah now for about 7 years. I was in LA for 15 years before that.
Oh, right. Wow.
Yeah, LA for a long time. And just kind of got sick of that a little bit, and then moved in like 2017. So how long would it be? Well, yes. Moved to Savannah, and I'm so glad I did, because when the lockdowns did hit, LA was very strict about the lockdowns, and Georgia was a little bit more, I don't want to use the word lax, because that implies carelessness, or but the lockdowns weren't as strict.
Yeah.
The lockdowns weren't as strict. they didn't close the beaches, for example, which they did in LA. So I could go to the beach and I could fish. I could hang out with friends, and I think that it was great. Like it was, being here for that definitely helped me a lot. And, spent a lot of time fishing and drinking whiskey and hanging out with friends. that aspect of the lockdowns was fun. It's all the other stuff that really sucked. But thank God I was in Georgia when it happened.
Yeah. Are you a US citizen these days?
Yeah. I became a citizen in 2016. So yeah, this is my life's here now. And I miss South Africa. I do. My mom and dad are still there. My sister, my niece and nephew, all my cousins.
Oh God.
Aunts, uncles. I'm really. I have one or two cousins that live abroad as well, but the rest of them, they're all there. So it's hard. I miss. We're a very close knit family as well, so I miss them. But I'm never going to go back.
No, more power to you. I'm sure you're aware that there's a visa applicant list as long as what the kilometre distance between Perth and Cape Town is to try to get into Australia at the moment. I mean,
sure.
We've had people live next to us that have literally just come off, the bloody hard workers, mate, but they are absolutely shattered. You know that? And the violence and the level of violence and the type that it's not, when I say it's the type of violence, as I'm sure you're deeply aware. And the world isn't fucking woken up to it, mate, and they don't give a shit. And
no.
I'm sure you probably still follow the rugby. So if you see at Perth, mate, most of the crowd were Springboks fans. They're not Wallabies fans. They're mostly Springboks fans. It's look, Australia's always been a destination. I get that, like the US, Canada, the US, Britain. We're the four destinations, four destinations. New Zealand doesn't have an economy, so nobody really wants to go there outside of China. It's trillionaires these days. So they all come here too, mate. So we see them all, but it's just the stories, to your point, when you're having a few beers and people sort of open up to you. And I'm a muso, so I play. So you see people out in the crowd, and I know Americans can't tell the difference between our accents, but you and I can tell the difference between our accents. And I always know whenever it's a Safa that I'm talking to, and I just, the stories that I'm hearing, mate, are just disgusting. But it's a sad indication of where our where we're prepared civilizations, you think things improve when you're younger, you think things are going to, there's going to be more prosperity and more fairness and more equality, but there's not. There's just more death, more destruction, and I hate to put such a negative spin on it, but you get it.
Yeah. No, I get it. And it's funny because one assumes you go to a place like Australia or America where it's successful and it's free and it's about as equal as you get in terms of equality, and it's easy to assume, oh well, this is human nature. This is the default setting for people. If we just let it play out, this is how it'll be. No, like it takes work, and that sometimes probably takes a bit of an iron fist to not enforce that, but to create the environment to where that can happen. If people can just willy-nilly do what they want to do and just get away with things, not abide by laws and have no sort of repercussions for their actions, there's going to be corruption. There's going to be violence. There's going to be, because people are greedy. Like the default setting for people isn't, peace and prosperity for all, and it just isn't. And it's evident in places like, South Africa, where there's a lot of corruption, and and the regular folks, they suffer. The political class, they're sitting pretty. They've never been richer. But the people, and especially the really poor people, they're struggling more than ever. And then the rapidly dwindling middle class who pay all the taxes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They next on the chopping block, and once they're gone, it's just going to be a dust ball. And it's just an unsustainable trajectory of I mean, there's got to be some kind of change. I don't want to use the word revolution because it implies violence, and I don't know, but I just can't see it sustaining itself in the long term. I can't see in 100 years from now things being great if they keep going along this kind of path.
I think you'll turn into Zimbabwe. Simple.
Yeah, and I mean that at this rate, that'll be in 25 years from now.
It's a quarter of it. Yeah, you're bang on point. Yeah, you've either done the reading. That's a good guess, because it's about a quarter of a century. The issue there, to your point, is that middle class is leaving, and they're coming here, or they're trying to, and it's getting to a point where I think you're going to find that you've got average middle class people being visa overstayers.
Right. And I mean, I'm certainly not for illegal immigration. I think it's, as an immigrant who immigrated legally to a country and jumped through all the hoops, and it's hard, but you do it, and so it's definitely do it the right way. But I think for South Africans, going to Australia it's kind of a lateral move. I feel like as a South African going to England, even though culturally there's a lot of similarities, just I think that weather alone gets you down. Like I can't do it. I love the UK. I love visiting, but man, we've done like long tours over there, and after like 6 weeks in like Europe and the UK, when it's just like dreary and drab, you never see the sun, I just get in this weird like funk. And I don't know if it's vitamin D deficiency or just a purely mental thing, but I got to see the sun, man. I got to go lie on a beach. I got to be on a boat. I got to have it. Like I can't, and that's why, South Africa is obviously a bright, sunny place. So I think to go from there to Australia, it's like, oh, this is so much like back home, but everything works. And the lights come on when I flick the switch, and I can make food. And it's like so it's a really well run version of it's like the best parts of South Africa. It obviously has its problems too. I mean, everywhere does, but it's like a well oiled working version of what it's what South Africa should be, in my opinion, or could be.
Yeah, you're quite right. I've never been to South Africa. I don't think I'd ever bother going, to be honest with you, these days. But
it's still a beautiful place, and I haven't actually visited in a while. My parents have been, now that we have little kids and stuff, it's hard to travel, so my parents have been visiting us. But I would like to take the kids there when they're a bit older and just kind of see where. But even then, now that as a father, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little nervous to take my family there. And, I know Australia's pretty strict on the gun control, but here in America, like I can carry a firearm wherever I go. And I know if anything happens, these kids are safe, because I'll handle any kind of problem that might arise, and then deal with, the repercussions. But in South Africa, you can't do that. You just have to kind of try and be polite and hope they take mercy on you.
Does it? Unfortunately, what we're seeing.
And I'm not cool. I'm not cool with it. I don't like those odds. And so I mean, it is something I think about. Yeah, It's sad. It's sad to have to think like that. About a place that I love so much.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. Yeah, it's. I hope this question isn't too close to personal or what have you. But the obvious question is, what can you do to help your family that's still there, particularly brothers and sisters who've got nieces and nephews there that are they're of that Gen Z age group or even younger. Is there anything you can possibly do to sort of help them get over there?
Nothing really. I mean, I help out financially. Fortunately, I'm in a position where I can help out, send money home, and that's really all you can do. I guess the only positive thing is that the rand dollar exchange is pretty much in my favor. If I do want to send, money back, it gets massively multiplied. I think it's like 19 to 1 right now or something. I send money home to help out, and but yeah, I mean, it's about all you can do, this far away. I'd love my parents to come live in the States, but they're getting up there in years, and it's hard to move when your roots have grown so deep. And I mean, they're South African through and through, and as long as my niece and nephew are there, they'll never leave. Them behind. And so it's one of those things. It's just I hate to be pessimistic. I'd like to think that there's light at the end of the tunnel. I'd like to think it's just a kind of a dark period right now, maybe, and we can get out of it. I'm hoping there's some kind of turnaround. That happens, and kind of flourishes again, because it's got all the potential in the world if it's if the ship's steered in the right direction, and the people at the helm have the right kind of intentions.
In some ways, it's drawing the link between sport and culture. We see that with the All Blacks and the Springboks. It's like the economy can be completely in the shit and our quality of life can be garbage, but as long as those respective teams win for the followers of them, for the Saffers, the Springbok keep winning, for the Kiwis, the All Blacks keep winning, nothing else seems to matter. It's just a crazy paradigm that both cultures seem to exist within. And I think the best thing that could happen from just bringing things to the fore and to the head, is that those teams start to crumble, and it gives people an opportunity to focus on what's really going on. Learned scholars have talked about religion and sport being the opiate of the masses, is what I'm really saying. And if I'm certainly not a conspiracy theorist, but the South African team's been on the rise for a very long time. Oh, sorry, someone at work keeps on trying to call me. So sorry. I'll just make that point that it would be within both nations' interests. I believe that for the people I'm talking about, not the upper echelon political psychopaths, but if people's attention could be focused on the economy, on quality of life, rather than fucking sport. Maybe you'd get some meaningful change, because people wouldn't be quite, sedated into nationalistic pride, which is a huge thing, for Kiwis and to a lesser extent South Africans.
Right. Well, I think they like the sport and stuff. It's like it's the whole bread and circus kind of thing. Like, let's keep them distracted by, the shiny, the keyring of it, whether it's a sports match or maybe like some surface level controversy, or even here in the States, we have that kind of stuff. Like, there'll be these stories that are like all over the news, and it's like the biggest deal, and you're like, it's not really that big a deal, but everyone's pushing it. They obviously got their marching orders. Push the story, because it's gonna put people against each other, and as long as they're going at each other's throats, they won't turn their eye on the government and kind of ask uncomfortable questions that we don't have the answers to, and so it's like like a bread and it's like a distraction, and sport is that. It's a good distraction, but
you see that with our
I feel like the veils are coming down now, with things like internet. It's getting harder and harder because people don't get the information now just from one source. You can get multiple sources. If something happens halfway across the world, you don't have to rely on the local news anchor to tell you what happened. You can get someone on Instagram with a video camera. Oh, I'm here. This happened. Look.
Well, that's because of Elon and X. That's what has opened that. Unfortunately, I think
that's huge. It's huge. To just be able to fact. And if you want to seek truth, like, you can find it. You can also find yourself getting lost in a lot of misinformation, and unfortunately, with people, almost feel like people make up their mind and then seek information to confirm their pre-existing bias, which is kind of counterintuitive. But if you're honest about it, if you're like, look, I really want to find out what's going on for real, you can. If you're looking for confirmation bias, like, you can kind of cherry pick to the point where you can feel good about anything you already kind of believe. So it's a double-edged sword, in a way.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. Yeah, mate. Unfortunately, the day is calling me. It's the middle of the day for me here. So
yeah. No worries.
I'd love to keep chatting, but just before I let you go, mate, do you think you'll be down here anytime soon?
We don't have anything planned yet. I'm hoping next year we can get out there. But we'll have to see what the schedule allows, what the booking agents have in mind. But I'd love to come out. I always love visiting there. As you were saying, tons of South Africans. So, got a lot of friends there. So, hopefully, we'll do a press release, as soon as something, hopefully sooner than later we can come out there. But we'll definitely do some kind of press release when we figure it out. So keep people in the loop.
Fantastic. All right, we'll look out for that killer album. Just another great one. I've had a number of these sorts of conversations lately. Speaking to Oscar for Hammerfall, what do you say to a band who's got almost a dozen albums under their belt? You're clearly doing something right for the fans.
Right.
So there you go. And the fact that you are the one in a billion, being able to make, I'm a bass player too, being able to make a career bassist and vocalist is another thing. But, just after our chat, God bless you and the rest of your extended family. I know firsthand from the conversations I'm having, and I wish I could. One of the next steps I'm doing is having more of those types of conversations on the podcast because, frankly, mate, we're just fed up with it, and there's censorship out there. But God bless you and your family, particularly your family there in South Africa. I hope he looks after them.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you saying that.
No worries, brother. All right, God bless you too. Talk to you.
You too.
All righty, Malakas. What do you think? I love going there and having different types of conversations. This is why I'm only putting this one on the podcast, because you guys on the podcast are just a little bit different, meaning the podcast audience. The YouTube audience, I tend to get all types, believe me. But you lot, the faithful few on the podcast side of things, you're my favourites. You know that, though. You've heard me say that before. All right, so there are many more chats like that over at scarsandguitars.com. You probably already know that, though, but just in case you're new and you've reached this far, go across and check all these God, I'll get it out. Go across and check all of the conversations with bands, members of bands such as Testament, Death, Morbid Angel, Cradle of Filth, Emperor. So many. Indeed, I've got an interview coming up. I'll share it with you now. Kelly Conlon. I'm talking to him. Let's hope it happens. But he was a bassist on Death's Symbolic. So fingers crossed that one comes to fruition. A bit of something that I'll share with you, the podcast audience. All right, that's it from me. My name's Andrew Mackay Smith. Until the next one, it's a goodbye for now.